Well, today is September 5th. It's a Monday. It's the most boring day of the week. But however, here in DWZ, the fun doesn't stop with there because, of course, we continue to do more wrestling reviews. So we're going to be reviewing the N-1 Victory Finals by Pro Wrestling Noah. Who walks out as the N-1 Victory winner? Will it be Hideki Suzuki or the Supernova Kaito Kiyomiya? And of course, we got DDT Pro Wrestling's dramatic explosion, where we're going to have, of course, Onita back. And we got the latest Joshi Pro Wrestling, of course. And recently we have New Japan Pro Wrestling with Day 3 of Burning Spirit. Day 2 will not be available because it was a house show. And of course, we cannot forget All Elite Wrestling with Dark Elevation. And of course, we got some news updates to see what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with Pro Wrestling Noah's with the N-1 Victory 2022 Finals. Now, as you know, this was the annual tournament they normally do every year. Now we get to see who will walk out as the winner and who will be the one to challenge Keno for the GHC heavyweight title. Before anybody asks, why am I in a different setting? Well, my freaking room is hot and it's a hot day. So basically for now, I'm going to do this here, and if things go exactly my way, I'll do it indoors in my own room. So let's just keep moving forward. Our first match, we got Hajime Ohara versus Super Crazy. Now these two teams, as you know, they're part of Ohara is from Congo and Super Crazy from Los Perros de Mar de Japón. I thought the match was okay for an opener, despite the fact these two guys are two of the junior heavyweight division. But it was Ohara who picked up a very strong victory against Super Crazy with a roll-up 1, 2, 3. Next match we have, of course, is tag team action. We got Anthony Green and Stallion Rogers taking on Daiki Inaba and Jack Morris. I thought this match was also pretty good because recently I know a lot of people have been getting to know Anthony Green and of course Jack Morris since the N1, and I thought, why not? But I have seen Green and Rogers team up on several occasions. They were pretty good, but however, in this particular match, it was another roll-up that was done by Morris to Statland, giving them the victory. So maybe Morris is now giving a good impression. Hopefully we'll see him more on Pro Wrestling Noah. Next match, we got the Noah Junior Regular Army making their presence. We got Seiki Yoshioka, Yohei, and Atsushi Kotoge taking on Kai Fujimura, along with Stinger members Yu Suzumi and Hayata. I thought the match was pretty solid because, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Noah Junior Heavyweight division. I've always have been open about it. So what's interesting is Kai Fujimura. He is the only one who is not involved with Stinger, but they're those saying that he's on the verge of possibly joining them. He's always been reliable to Stinger. No joke. Even Ogawa likes him because he's reliable to him. He's looking for people that he feels he can count on, and I think that's what makes Stinger a good unit. But however, when it comes to the Noah Junior Regular Army, they are always on the rise to prove they are the best what they can do in the junior heavyweight to elevate them. But however, it was Atsushi Kotoge that picked up the victory on Yu Suzumu with a pinfall. Now, however, in the post-match, what I found out afterwards, while the Noah Junior Regular Army were celebrating, Hayata did a reverse nomination on who will be his next challenger, and he picked, to my surprise, was Yohei. Now, you probably ask me, why is that important? Think about it. Yohei is one of my favorite wrestlers. I talked about him. He's very talented. His story about how he's been betrayed recently, first with Yoshioka, now that he settled things with him, and of course with Los Bedros. But he has been GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Champion on a few occasions. However, he has never won the GHC Heavyweight title. But this time, this is going to be interesting to see that taking place. So it's still unclear when will it happen, but we will see it happen. Next up, we have We have Alejandro from the Noah Junior Regular Army teaming with Mohamed Yone and Masa Kiyomiya to take on Kongo, consistent with, of course, Shugu Kondo, Katsuhiko Nakajima, and of course Matsukazu Funaki. I thought this match was also good because it showed, how each of the members they are. We have each of them has a junior competitor, and the other two are heavyweight competitors. I think that's what tells us the whole thing. But however, it was of course Nakajima who picked up the win when he took out Yohei with the spike. And of course, apparently there's been feud between now with Kiyomiya and Funaki. It looks like Kiyomiya wants to challenge for the GHC National Championship. We don't know yet if that's going to take place, but I'm sure that's going to be one hell of a match. Next up, we got, of course, Yoshiki Inamura teaming with Taniguchi Shoei, taking on, what's his name? Satoshi Kojima, and of course, Takashi Segura. Now, these two guys have teamed up in the past prior, but however, in certain times, from my understanding, Segura wasn't sure if he wants to team up with Kojima once again. However, Kojima had to pull up his own weight to keep up with Segura, and that's what he did. Of course, it was Kojima who picked up the big lariat onto what's his name, to Shohei, and apparently it won in that fashion. So Kojima and Segura won. Next up, we got a pair of luchadors, brothers, not the same as the Lucha Brothers. We got Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane. I have to say this was a pretty good match because we see like the Lucha Brothers face off each other. Now, the Lucha Brothers have always been singles competitors before becoming more and more tag team, and I thought this was a very good one. Now, if you probably ask me who's the oldest, Alpha Wolf is the oldest, and Dragon Bane is the youngest. But I have to say it was a pretty good one. But it was Dragon Bane who picked up a good win with a what was it? He did a poison Rana onto Wolfbane to pick up the win. So I thought it was great. So I'm sure we will see more of Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. I mean, I would love to see those two guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they team up for the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Next up, we got Kendo Kanshi, Timothy Thatcher, what's his name? Oh yeah, Iko the Dr. Wagner Jr. and Kazuyuki Fujita taking on Masaaki Mochizuki, Masato Tanaka, Go Shiozaki, and now Michi Marufuji. Now, this was a very interesting matchup because I've seen Kendo. He's a really hot-tempered person that Sugiro-gun has to put up every single time. But in this particular match, I feel that Timothy Thatcher in this particular match, he came back with a vengeance, because if you guys know this, he was supposed to be in the N-1 victory, but however, due to visa issues, it prevented him from being there. But now he's making up for lost time, and he took out the Fuji armbar onto Go Shiozaki and forced him to tap out. So I have to say, everybody beware of Thatcher, or as we know, what's his name? Ciampa call him Toothless Timmy, will be on the rampage. Our next match, we have the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. We have the challengers, Los Perros del Mar de Japón, consistent of Kotaro Suzuki and Eita, taking on Stingers, Chris Ridgway, and Yoshinari Ogawa. Now, keep in mind, these two factions hate each other completely. The reason is this: they're always trying to prove who is the most dominant junior heavyweight division. However, right now, in this point, it's Stinger. They all have all three titles: the junior heavyweight Championship and the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. So Stinger is currently the dominant faction, but however, Eita, who has issues with Ogawa, trying to prove, you're an old man, get the fuck out of here. That's what he's been trying to do. But Ogawa's trying to show him, hey, this old man can still kick your ass. And he's not wrong, but it was Ridgeway who picked up the victory for his team. But however, in post-match, members of the Noah Junior Regular Army comes out, become both consistent of Yoshioka and Kotoge. They decided they want to be the next challengers. And how did the Stinger respond? Easy. They whacked them with the belts, saying challenge accepted, because they always tried to prove they are the most dominant. Now keep in mind, these titles they won it from Kotoge and Yohei not too long ago. So who knows how things will go. Our next match, we have a very interesting one. We have Kongo, consistent of Tadasuke, Manabu Soya, and of course Keno, taking on Nosawa Rangai, the Great Okan, and the Great Muta. This is the Great Muta's last time we ever get to see him. Now, and you guys should know, in this particular match, Great Okan stepped on the seal of Pro Wrestling Noah. I would be surprised if Will Ospreay or the United Empire decide to invade Noah. That is something that goes into my mind. What if he does that? But Keno felt like it's disrespectful to what he did. Now, this was a much violent match because we know how Keno is. He's not gonna take shit from anybody, especially if it's Great Okan, you know. But he has dealt with Muta in the past, and Muta, he's a dangerous dude. But however, it was Great Okan who picked up the victory on Tadasuke. But that doesn't end there. It looks like Great Okan wants to challenge Keno for the GHC heavyweight title. But Great Okan got his face missed by Great Muta, showing him, don't disrespect Noah. He comes out leaving like something out of a horror film. Like he can't believe he got missed. So he deserved it, you know, trust me. For all you Pro Wrestling Noah fans, you know he deserved it. For all you United Empire fans, like, he didn't deserve it. Well, he did. You do not trash Noah. Now, our main event is, of course, the match we've been waiting for. The N-1 Victory 2022 Finals. We have Hideki Suzuki taking on the Supernova Kaito Kiyomiya. Now, I thought this match was incredible. Now, Suzuki, there is no doubt he is an amazing wrestler, a very technical wrestler that you know he's going to win in some ways because he's a veteran at this game. But you look at Kaito Kiyomiya, who has struggled back and forth, you know, trying to get to the top. That's always been his mission. But it took at least about maybe 3 or 4 Shining Wizards to put away Suzuki. And that's how he won with that. But of course, Kaito Kiyomiya won. 1, 2, 3. He finally did it. He finally won an N1 victory. However, you know for a fact one person is looking on, and I'm sure he will take great pleasure in hurting him. That is, of course, the current GC champion. If you guys know the history between those two used to be tag team partners in the past. But however, in the previous ownership of Noah, Keno always felt that he was being overshadowed by Kiyomiya in the past because the previous company, Ledet, always had Kiyomiya's back. So he accused him for being a fake wrestler. So this would be a match that we definitely got to see. Basically, we're going to see Keno, who has always proven how real he can be, against a guy who he believes is a faker. So we'll see when that day comes, and I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy that. So I think that's pretty much it right now with Pro Wrestling Noah. I believe it's time for DDT Pro Wrestling. Okay, DDT Pro Wrestling with dramatic explosion. This took place on the 4th of September. It opened up a bit of a one-on-one action. We have the newbie Takashi Masada versus Burning's Yusuke Okada. Now, this is a very good opportunity for Masada to get his feet wet with a wrestler who was in his shoes but recently in his past. But now he is sort of making a name for himself since signing himself with Tetsuya Endo and Jun Akiyama. Well, mostly started with Jun Akiyama, now with Tetsuya Endo. But he was pretty good. But however, it did not end well for Masada. He ended up in the bridge suplex. 1, 2, 3 is over. Now, don't be hard on Masada. He is the new kid. So we'll see what he does in the upcoming months. Next up, we got Kazuki Irada and Antonio Honda taking on the Pheromones. Yes, Dino and Yuki Ino are there. As you know, this is the kind of match that these guys don't want to be involved with, because you know how the Pheromones get. When it comes to Ino, you know he's trying to be all fruity and all that stuff. However, Irada tried to take care of it, but nope, it did not end well for him. But however, it was Ino who pinned Honda to give the win. So I thought it was really funny. I think Irada thought he can take care of it, but no, he can't stand the Pheromones one way or the other. Next up, we got more tag team action. We got Yuki Ishida teaming up with Mao, taking on Akito and Shinya Ishida. Now, I don't know if Yuki Ishida and Shinya are related, but I'm going to say maybe no. But I thought this match was very interesting, but very different, because the thing is, Yuki Ishida, he just recently joined Iguchi's faction recently, and I know he's eager to prove himself. But Mao, as you know, he is part of 37 Kamina. But one thing that it was really interesting, it was, of course, a figure 4 leg lock by Akito that finished off Yuki Ishida, giving him the win. Next up, we got a very interesting tag team match. We have Makoto Oshii, Yuji Ino, and of course the current DDT Universal Champion Yuki Inoue taking on the members of Burning, consistent of Yuya Kuroku, Jun Akiyama, and Tetsuya Endo. Now, you probably guessed, if you guys are big fans of Burning, you know the history of them, you probably thought, oh, Burning has this right in it. But I have to say, the combination between Oishi and Ino, and of course Ueno teaming up, it was very kind of settling, because recently we know that Oishi has been hanging out with both Ino and Naya for the last couple of weeks or so. But one thing I did not anticipate was Oishi picking up a very strong one when he put Kuroku in a submission move, winning the match. But what happens next later on, both Oishi and Ino decided to make a play. But I'll get to that in a bit. Now, our next match is for the KOD 6-man tag team titles. We have Eruption, consistent of Hideki Okatani, Saki Akai, and Yuki Sakaguchi, taking on the members of Damnation TA, consistent of Kano, MJ Paul, and Daisuke Sasaki. Now, you know how Damnation TA gets around. They like to cheat their way, use unnecessary tactics, which of course but however, Kano knows how to push the buttons of Hideki Okatani. He's done it before, so basically he fell prey to him, but it was of course Kano who picked up the victory on Okatani. So this was a huge disappointing loss for Eruption, but a huge win for Damnation, because he finished them off with a brain buster. Now, when you thought things were going great, this is what I was talking about. Makoto Oishi and Yuji Ino showed up, asking for a challenge against Damnation for the KOD 6-man tag team titles. Now, however, Sasaki is the kind of guy who's like saying, no pricks, you're not getting no shot. But they can be overruled by the general manager. The general manager has had enough of these guys, so he authorized this match to happen. Sasaki not happy about it, but he has no other choice. So they will get their chance. But the obvious question to me at the time, I was like wondering, okay, is this going to be with Naya or someone else? That's something I like to know, but we'll find out. Now we have this scrambled burning explosion match as a 6-man. We have 37 Kaminas, consistent of Toi Kojima, Shuma Katsumata, and Konosuke Takeshita, taking on Yuki Naya, Shinya Aoki, and Atsushi Onita. Now this is Onita's playbook right here, using exploding baseball bats. This is the kind you know is going to So you've been hearing explosions. But I think what makes this match a little bit memorable is how Naya took out Toy Kojima, knocked him out, and landed on an exploding pad of barbed wires, winning the match by pinning him 1, 2, 3. So this is the most intense match I've ever watched. So basically, Onita's work continued, but it was Naya who picked up the win. Next up, we got Asuka, or as we know her in the US, Venny, taking on Chris Brooks. But this match was more of an aggressive match. Now, this is more like who is the best wrestler, who is more, and I don't know, but it was like intense. But you know, Brooks, he's the biggest a-hole in DDT. He always pisses people off. That's always what he's known for. But however, it was Chris Brooks with a somewhat of a spike onto Asuka that picked up the win. But of course, he tried to shake hands with her. Asuka wasn't having it. Now our main event is the KOD Tag Team titles. We have Disaster Box consistent of Toru Owashi and leader Harashima taking on Harimoa, consistent of Naomi Yoshimura, formerly of Disaster Box, and the current KOD Openweight Champion, Kazusada Iguchi. Now, this is one amazing match. Now, I did mention before, Owashi had to relinquish 2 titles. He had to relinquish the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship and the 040 Championship to focus on this match. But I have to say it was a pretty intense match, but it was Naomi Yoshi who picked up the win onto what's his name, Owashi. So I was like amazed with this match. However, post match, while they were throwing the promo, Damnation decided to show up and demand these titles. But something odd happened. Shinya Aoki shows up when they showed up. He had like some sort of a file or something. I don't know what that was. But Damnation, I know exactly what they want. They want to collect all the belts. You know, trying to regain their popularity, their dominance they once had. But will they have that? Well, we don't know until we find out soon on the next event they're going to have and when they're going to be booked. So I think that's pretty much it with the DDT stuff. I believe it's time for Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Okay, Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling City Circuit Nagoya Performance. This took place on the 4th of September. Now, this was a very special event because, if you guys know this, current Princess Tag Team Champion Yuki Arai is a current idol singer. Her idol group, as SKE48, we're gonna do a special performances. Now, some of you say, wait a minute. Normally, when up girls do the performances, true, but the history is this: up girls normally do their shows in the opening of the events. That's always been their gig right there. However, in the past they had, of course, idol groups performing in before the up girls' very own wrestling brand was formed. You know, which is what currently is today. But we'll get to that bit. Our opening match, we got Arisu Endo taking up against Maki Ito. I thought this was a very interesting matchup because, you know, I know Arisu Endo has been improving herself, even when she improved with Zuzumi. But however, when it comes to Maki Ito, you know her skill set. She finished her off with the Boston Crab. Next up, we got a 3-way match. We have Aruna Neko versus Nao Nakukura and Yuki Arai. Now, I know Yuki Arai has been itching to prove herself that she can do things on her own since her blood-related tag team partner, Nodoka Temna, graduated and retired from pro wrestling. She's trying to put herself back. But however, you know there's the aggressiveness coming from Nakukura, who you guys know, since Nakukura teamed up with Hikari Noa, she's been throwing a bit of the aggressive side. But however, it was Neko who fell victim to the inverted DDT by Yuki Arai. 1, 2, 3, it's done. Now we get our performance from the SKE48. I don't know how many performance songs they sang, but I can tell you what really took place of when they were doing little in between before the last song. You see Sayuri Naba on one side, watching the show, and of course on the other side you see Miyu Watanabe, who's being such a fangirl, enjoying it. I don't know what they're saying, but I wouldn't be surprised if they invite her to perform with her the next time they do a next one. However, they called out Maki Ito. Now some of you are saying, really? If you guys remember history very well, Maki Ito used to be an idol before getting into wrestling, and they're asking her if she likes to be part of their next performance. So of course she'll do it. There's no wrong about that. So we'll see when that day comes. Now our next match, we have Moka Miyamoto taking on Hikari Noa. I have to say, Hikari Noa, as you know, she came back. I'm sure she was disappointed losing to Alex Windsor, not getting the title, even though I haven't seen that match, even though that's what I've been hearing. But she really hasn't lost a step, but did not let her get down. But of course, I'm sure that she took her aggression out on Moka Miyamoto. But Miyamoto did some amazing shots on her, like the karate punches, like bah! Not bad, but it was not enough. So it was Hikari Noa's Blizzard suplex that finished her off. 1, 2, 3. Good night. Now next up, we got Raku Miya and Miyu Yamashita taking on Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima. Now, I did hear recently that Raku picked up a huge win in the main event in the previous. Now, I haven't seen that one yet, but I heard this was a huge moment for her. So I'm not sure if teaming up with Miyu was probably saying, okay, let's see how she does teaming up with the ace. And that's kind of like interesting. But it was, of course, in the end, the Northern Lights suplex by Shoko Nakajima that finished off Raku. Now, don't get me wrong, Raku has her own skill sets how to proceed in wrestling, but she fell victim to that. Next up, we got Zazumi teaming up with Hakuchumu, consistent of Miyu Watanabe, Rika Tatsumi versus Pam Arajuku and the Magical Sugar Rabbits, Mizuki and Yuka Sakazaki. Now, this was a very strong match because I have seen Pam Arajuku has shown a lot of aggression, took out trying to prove herself that she can hang. But however, the one person she had to deal with is, of course, is Miyu Watanabe. Everybody loves Miyu because she has shown how much she has grown as a very strong wrestler. One moment is, of course, she got her with the laser beam when Pam Arajuku tried to level up herself, but unfortunately, she ended up in the teardrop. So that kind of fits in. So basically, it was Miyu Watanabe that picked up the win and was great. Now, our main event, we have, of course, the Princess Tag Team Championships. We have Mahito Kiru and Yuki Kamifuku taking on the current tag champions, Yuki Arai and Saki Akai. Now, basically, I'm going to put this out. Nagoya is not Yuki Arai's home, but this is more like, okay, they put SKE48 as the main attraction, and somehow because they were going to be there, and they were watching the match, of course, seeing their bandmate wrestle, and I think that's a great moment. Now, this match in particular, the reason it was set because it was Mahito Kiru who pinned Yuki Arai to get this opportunity. So basically, I know that Yuki Arai is trying to make up for that loss, for that mistake. Now, she did apologize to Saki for this, but of course Saki doesn't blame her. She knows it's expected. Sooner or later, someone's going to pin her to get it. And I thought this was a very interesting matchup because we get to see. Now, some of you say Saki Akai would be doing all the work. No, I have to say Yuki Arai really, really stepped up a lot better than she ever. Now, because as I mentioned, she was new to this, to Joshi Pro Wrestling for almost a year or year and a half or so, but she really shown how much she has grown. I think the final moments were when she faced off against, of course, Mahito Kiru, because it was Mahito Kiru who pinned her last. But I think it was appropriate for Yuki Arai to take her out. And she did that amazing kick she does. 1, 2, 3. It's over. Yuki Arai picked up this very impressive win. I have to say she has grown up. So as soon as the match was over, there was a promo and all this and that. So I have to say Yuki Arai is really impressive. She has grown so much. But however, the obvious question now remains, she has to be more stronger than she's ever been. It was announced later on that Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling will be in, as you know, they're in a working relationship with Pro Wrestling League down in the UK. It appears the Uprising, consistent of Nightshade and Rhea O'Reilly, will be making their way to Japan on October 9th for Wrestle Princess 3, and the Princess Tag Team Championships will be on the line. The obvious question is, can they overcome this? Because right now, one title is already overseas. They cannot afford to lose this one's to the overseas as well. So if I was Yuki Arai, I would train even 10 times harder than she's ever been. So I think that's pretty much it with Tokyo Joshi Pro. I believe it's time for New Japan. Okay, day 3 of New Japan's Burning Spirit. No, I did not see day 2 because I don't think it was, how do I say, a live show. I think it was a house show. Something similar as WWE, but I don't know why they don't do that. So don't ask me why. But however, this was an important night for many reasons. One, they're back in Corkin Hall. And two, fans get to cheer again. So it's like, thank God, finally. And of course, how do you get people riled up in this type of match? Well, you got to have the guy who knows how to open up a show. We're talking about the Time Bomb himself, Hiromu Takahashi. You know how he is. He likes to get people all fired up for a good show. And that's what he does. Now, our opening match, we have Bad Dude Tito taking on the King, Minoru Suzuki. Now, you guys know how this one scene from Minoru Suzuki themes goes. Katsi ni Nore. I have to say, it's great to hear it from the Japanese fans, because here, whenever he comes to the States, we get to say it. I feel like, to me, it was unfair that the fan base couldn't do it in Japan. The Japanese fan base couldn't do it. I feel bad for them, but I've been itching to hear that from them. And I know many fans do too, because it sounds amazing when it comes to it. But with Minoru Suzuki, he was telling the fans, come on, sing it, sing it. So I have to say, he knows it. He's like, he wants to hear it. So it was a great moment. Now, during the match, I have to say, you know, this type of match with Minoru Suzuki, you know, with Bad Dude Tito, he has to put his best to him if he can knock him out. But unfortunately, it did not go well. He ended up on the wrong side of the Gotch style power driver. So that is a good win for Minoru Suzuki. So sorry, Bad Dude. So you may have to deal with the loss. Next up, the one group that everybody hates, House of Torture, Dick, Sho, Yujiro, and Evil, taking on the members of Chaos, Yano, Yo, and Yoshihashi and Goto. Now, it's no secret that these two teams hate each other completely, because they've been at each other's throats for a long time. Not to mention the history between Sho and Yo and all this and that. But however, they put on their best game face in order to win this match. However, it was Yano who picked up the win, when he, of course, if Kevin Kelly was doing his English commentary, he would say, oh, my monitor went out. We all know what that means. That means Yano did it again, and he pinned Dick Togo. But however, that wasn't in. The House of Torture did a little beatdown onto Chaos, sending a message saying they are coming for the never open weight 6-man tag champions. And it was announced that they will have that opportunity, I believe, on the 18th of this month of September. So the obvious question is, will House of Torture reclaim these titles that they lost, or will they lose them once again? Now, our next match, we got the Bullet Club, Hikuleo, Chase Owens, and Balak Fale taking on the members of the United Empire. We have Gideon Gray coming all the way from the UK once again, taking on the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb. Now, keep in mind, Bullet Club and the United Empire have been at war now with each other, trying to prove who runs New Japan Pro Wrestling. Bullet Club has always maintained the composure that they are the true faction that runs it. But in United Empire's case, they believe that they are now, step aside, Bullet Club, this is our show now. You're done. Now, we know Jay White's not going to let that happen. So, but this time we're going to see who gets out. However, Gideon Gray was the one who fell victim with the chokeslam by Hikuleo. So basically, better luck next time, guys. Next up, we got the DKC of the LA Dojo teaming up with 6 or 9, Wato and Taguchi, to take on the other members of the United Empire, Aaron Henare and the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, TJP and Francesco Akira. Now, this particular match was intense. Now, I knew this is going to end with Henare and DKC because it is appropriate, because later on we will see, of course, 6 or 9 taking on TJP and Francesco Akira for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag titles. But of course, they believe they're not going to take these titles from them one way or the other to maintain their status as the Empire rules New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, our next match, we got Yado teaming up with Kushida, taking on members of Bullet Club, Geto, and of course Taiji Shimori. Now, I was impressed how, if you guys know this, Kushida wants to get another shot of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title that Ishimori has, but the history between Geto and Yado has escalated even further again, as you know, because they were one-time tag team partners and now enemies. They actually got in each other. But however, it was Kushida who took out Geto with the suplex, and boom, it was over right from there. So gave Kushida and Geto the momentum. So the obvious question is, will we see the match between Kushida and Taiji Shimori? But we'll see when that day happens. Now, our next match, we have more Bullet Club members, El Phantasmo and Kenta, taking on Bushi and Shingo Takagi of LIJ. Now, you know for a fact that Shingo still has his issues towards El Phantasmo for that bit win that he had against him. But you know how they're going to try to win. But it was, of course, the CR2 by El Phantasmo to finish off Bushi, maintaining their status as they always been. Bullet Club still showing how dominant they can be. Next up, we got the members of Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on LIJ's Hiromu Takahashi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito. Now, in this type of match, you know there's going to be some interesting from members. Now, Despi and Hiromu, they have a long history together, as proven themselves to be two of the best junior heavyweight competitors. Taichi and Sanada, well, it looks like they're getting a little feud going on. We cannot forget how Zack Sabre Jr. can't stand Naito the way he is. But the one thing is clear is, of course, Sanada was the one who picked up a very interesting win against Taichi. Now, Taichi, as you know, he likes to take off his pants because he's about to end the match as soon as possible. It did not work because apparently Sanada took advantage of him on that moment. But so basically, you know, this is not good for Taichi, but I'm sure they will rekindle their fight soon enough. Now, our main event, we got TMDK, consisted of Shane Hasty and Jonah taking on the Super Dream Team, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada. Now, keep in mind, Jonah has Okada in his sights. He wants to finish him off since he has declared himself the top dog. Okada is one of the top wrestlers in New Japan. But, however, in this case, it was Tanahashi who finished off Shane Hasty with the high-five flow, giving them the momentum. So I thought it was a pretty good, important match, as you know. But, however, I think this was a great timing for Tanahashi. If you guys remember, months ago, he saw how this young little girl fan wanted to get close to Tanahashi, but due to the fact of the COVID restrictions over there, he was saddened that he couldn't reach to that little girl. I mean, this little girl looks at him as a hero, and now he get to hear the fans cheering. Someone actually posted it saying that once the fans are back, his powers are back too. I'm like, that would make sense, you know. So basically, that's like a urban myth or something. I'm not sure, but don't quote me on that. I'm just hearing what I'm hearing in the grapevine. So I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. I believe it's time for our last review, AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, AEW Dark Elevation opened up with Julia Hart taking on Alice Cromwell. Now, you know how this is going to end with Julia Hart. Ever since she joined the House of Black, she's more aggressive, more dangerous than she's ever was. But I did say that she must have picked up a few tricks from Malachi Black, teaching her how to do submissions, and that's how it ended. Now, she could have finished her off with a pinfall, but no. She wanted to end it with a submission, which she gradually did, sending a warning to anybody that comes face to face to her. Next up, we got Josh Woods and Tony's, along with Smart Mark Sterling, taking on Jordan Cross and Rennie D. Now, as you know, these guys have been a formidable tag team duo recently since they scouted Josh Woods, but of course they came up short for the tag titles. But however, they continue to show how impressive they are as a tag team. But it was the double combination of the neck breaker onto I think Rennie D that gave, of course, Woods and Nice the win. Next up, we got Serena Deeb versus Nikki Victory. Now, we know how this match ends, but however, the entire match, she refuses to take off her coat, so she had to wrestle in her coat. And of course, the one thing, but she, instead of using the Serenity Lock, but it ended with a new type of submission. I'd never seen one like this, where she puts her entire body on top of the opponent, on the back of their head, and then she stretches the arms. You know, that is something I never seen before, but somehow she used that to finish off Nikki Victoria, and I thought, okay, this is a new thing. I would have assumed it was a Serenity Lock, but I think now she's showing, hey, I can do this submission instead of the Serenity Lock, so it would make sense. You know. Now, our next match, we have Private Party taking on Brandon Gore and JDX. Now, things were going great for Private Party, but as you guys recall, one time they came out during a Matt Hardy match, but now Matt Hardy is doing the same thing. We don't know if there's going to be reconciliation between these two, because as you know, Andrade is not 100% pleased with Private Party, but who knows what could happen. But it was the gin juice that finished off Brandon Gore, giving Private Party to win. Next up, we got Diamante versus Sky Blue. Now, this was a bit more of a biased story match, because we know how Diamante is good. We know that Sky Blue is good. But it was, of course, Sky Blue with the flatliner that picked up the win. The reason she won this match, since this show was in Chicago, gave it to the Chicago native, and that's how it wins. Now, our main event, we got Marina Shafir teaming with Nyla Rose again, and Vicky's alongside to take on Queen Aminata and Madison Rayne. This is the first time we see Madison Rayne wrestle since she lost to Jade Cargill. But however, it was, of course, Marina to pin Madison to give a very good win for her team. So I think that's pretty much it right now with AEW Dark Elevation. I believe we should do our last thing will be news updates. Okay, so here are our news updates for today. We want to say 2 congratulations. First one, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Ruffin. Yes, folks, you may have heard now that Leon Ruffin, former NXT star and one-time NXT North American champion, married his fiancée, Daphne LaShawn, who also is known as Aja Smith, a WWE Raw referee. I was aware of their relationship and then their engagement, but yes, congratulations to both of you. And our second congratulations, as you guys may have heard, September 3rd, as you know, this is September 2nd, Waka Tsukiyama has celebrated her 2nd-year anniversary as a pro wrestler. So congratulations, Waka. So I hope you guys, if you guys have her on Twitter, make sure you say congratulations to her, because I already said it, and you know she liked what I said, and I'm not joking. Now, back to business. Circle 6 has announced for their upcoming event, Catalyst, that will be taking place on September 9th. We're going to have a huge tag team match. We got Aussie Open, Fletcher and Davis taking on Alex Zane, and the debuting of Rich Swann. Now, I did not know that Aussie Open and Alex Zane actually participate in Circle 6. I missed a couple of Circle 6 events, but it's great to hear that. Now, for our GCW update here, as you guys may have heard, the Nick Gage Invitational is back, and it's going to be returning to Chicago on November 12th. So we don't know who will be participating, but I can't wait to see who is going to be in it. Now, as you know, we got the upcoming West Coast Pro event on the 8th of October for Ride the Lightning. We're going to have an impressive tag team match. We got the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Royce Isaacs and Jarrell Nelson, taking on the Committee of Violence. Now, I know that one of them is one called Manners. I forgot whose tag team partner is, but it's going to be a very interesting tag match. Now, our final update, Yoshi Promotion World Woman Pro Wrestling Diana has announced that they will be participating at an event with Pro Wrestling 01, part of a something for Okatani. As you know, Shinehiro Otani was injured, and he's good friends with Diana's founder and the person who runs it, Kyoko Inoue. But she did announce that, of course, herself and 5 others will be participating in this event on the 8th of October. So I can't wait to see that. So here's who's participating. We have Jaguar Yokota, Ayako Sato, Haruna Umasaki, Madeline, and Deborah K. So it's going to be interesting. As you know, Pro Wrestling 01 has allowed Yoshi wrestlers to participate, so this is going to be a good thing. So if you guys are 01 fans, then you guys are expecting some Yoshi wrestlers to make their presence. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So I think it's time for me to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode reviewing this. Coming up, since you know it's Tuesday Wrestling, and we have NWA Power, AEW Dark, and of course we have what's their name? Oh yeah, we have NXT 2.0. As you know, NXT will be in their fallout after Worlds Collide. So what things could take place? As you know, we have 3 unification matches that took place, 2 title matches that actually had retained, which is Carmelo Hayes and Carter and Chance. So anything could happen here on out. So we'll see. But before that, I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Since, you know, those 3 up, I will wing that part of the episode. So just be surprised. So I think that's pretty much it. So I will be seeing you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.